Now, when it comes to this question, I feel like it's all around dependent on whether or not you willingly chose to become a vampire. You feel what I'm saying? So, like, say you were presented with the choice to become a vampire and you took that. That means that you're trying to claim immortality or eternal life through, or like you're kind of trying to find like a loophole rather than getting it the correct way through God. Also, assuming you know what you have to do being a vampire. As a vampire, you have to be immortal, you have to live forever, and you have to feast on the blood of people, right? And also, from what we can gather, drinking blood is like a serious violation of God's law. So, even if that, oh man, that just makes it worse. You willingly chose to become a vampire, but you also know you're going to be drinking blood, and that you know it's a serious violation of God's law. So I feel like that's a no-no. Bro, but imagine if you tried to be Christian and be a vampire. You chose willingly to become a vampire, now you choose to be Christian. That's just not working out for you. I don't know what I have to say. But on the other hand, if you didn't choose to become a vampire, and say you're like walking down an alley, right? And a vampire just straight up jumps you, starts drinking your blood, turns you into a vampire, they dip, right? I feel as though God would help you because you didn't choose that, and from what we can gather, God honors free will, right? So if you did not choose to become a vampire, but you were turned into one, you were forced to become a vampire, I feel like God would help you, right? I feel like he would. Bro, but think about the powers you could have if you did become a vampire. Now, when it comes to the question of, like, can you be a vampire and a Christian? I feel like if you chose willingly, no. But if you didn't, you still could, in a sense. But I feel like the powers you could have as a vampire are so crazy and cool. Like, imagine if you could fly. You could fly. That'd be sick. You can't tell me that's not sick. I feel like the hard part I would have is actually, like, drinking people's blood, because like 10 times out of 10 someone's not just gonna let you drink their blood, right? So I feel like you would have to, like, I don't know, like take it by force, which is very bad. I don't like that. So that's why I feel like I couldn't become a vampire, because I feel like I couldn't just do that to someone. That'd just be messed up. Just take their blood. Like, that's just, I feel like that's, you know. I wouldn't want to do that, but there's some sickos out there that would want to become a vampire and they would do that. But also, I feel like there's different types of vampires. Like, there's different types of vampires that don't need to drink blood, but they feed off of the light of other things. Like these trees, right? These trees have life. I feel like there is a vampire in fiction that could drain the life from these trees and fill it with themselves. Or take the life from the trees and give it to themselves. You feel what I'm saying? And honestly, you can't assume the fact that there are other vampires out there. Well, maybe, yeah, there might be other vampires out there, but you can't guarantee that they're friendly. They might just want to hurt you. Mind you, if you're a vampire and you have the powers that come with being a vampire, right? So you got super strength, you can fly, you can, like, your senses are enhanced, stuff between the lines of that, right? You're most likely stronger than everybody else, but most likely, it's a probability that there's other people out there that are just like you. So I feel like running into one of them would be a terrible idea. Because what if they just smoke you? Because there's not enough food to go around for the rest of us. There's, like, you get what I'm trying to say? They might smoke you so they have enough food for themselves. That's crazy. Also, I feel like vampires can feast on animal blood. It's just not as good, so to speak. Yeah, I feel like so. Also, say you're a vampire, right? And you live long enough, eventually humanity is going to mess up, right? And, like, a zombie apocalypse would happen. I guess, I don't know. But I feel like something like a breakout would happen, like a apocalypse. And, like, all the humans die. The vampire, like, if you're a vampire, you're not gonna have anything else to eat. You're just there. So you're just, like, immortal. Also, I covered this in my last video. Immortality doesn't mean you're invincible. It just means you live forever. But if you are a vampire and oh my goodness, it all leads back to invincibility. If you're a vampire and you're immortal and you're invincible, that means you can't die from anything. You just live forever. You're basically immune to injury. So, would you like, so no more humans, apocalypse. You're starving. You're starving, bro. And you, most likely, if they're not, I would assume if they're out of range, you wouldn't be able to smell them. That's just going off of my personal thinking. But, like, there's no one around, and you're starving. You're also invincible, so you can't die. Man, I don't see how being a vampire is cool. Being a vampire is cool in thought, but when you actually give it some thought and you think about it, I feel like it wouldn't be a cool power to have. Or, like, you know? Yeah. Also, someone commented this on my last video. Imagine if you had immortality, but with amnesia. Yo, that's crazy, dude. Like, imagine you live forever, and, like, you don't know why. That's insane. Also, you can't really have a long-term social relationship with someone, or you can't really have a social status. Yo, if you get famous, you're done. You are so done. Because imagine you get famous for something, whether or not you were a influencer, or maybe you are something else, right? They're going to notice that you're not aging. Like, for example, say Justin Bieber was a vampire, right? And he was born the 1400s. And he became a famous singer, and he lives forever. Eventually, people are going to notice why he's not aging. They're going to be like, why be? Why are you... Why? Yo! That's crazy. But you gotta admit, being a vampire, it's like a cool idea, right? Like, when you really think about it, you can, like, have the idea of being a vampire. Yo, the nightlife must be crazy. And you gotta think, you're a vampire. So if you have the powers of a vampire, well, yeah, if you had the powers of a vampire, so you have, like, super speed, you can fly, you have super strength, and you're basically the apex predator of basically you're human, but you're just apex. You're just raw. So I feel like you could just do stuff easily. Like, you could go to different countries without a passport because you can fly. And most likely, you wouldn't get tired normally than a normal human would. Like, to give it some thought, right? If you were a vampire and you wanted to go to, say you were in the United States and you wanted to go to Italy, you wouldn't have to, like, get in your car. You wouldn't have to go down to, like, the airport, and you wouldn't have to fly over there. You could just do that. Oh, well, I guess not. Because if you're a vampire, this is just going off of assumptions, but wouldn't you need blood to survive or have, like, some type of energy? So say, like, you're flying and you're over an ocean, right? And you start to get tired. You're in the middle of the sea. There's no humans around. Well, I guess you could try and, like, get some animals from the sea, or, like, get some sea creatures and drink their blood. But that just dips into a whole bunch of other stuff. Like, what if you're afraid of the sea? Or what if your body reacts differently to the sea creature blood? I just assume because it's blood, but hey, we don't know. And yeah, that also kind of depends on how fast you're flying. Like, if you're zooming, I feel like you would get there pretty fast, because I feel like vampires are, oh, well, I don't know. I feel like it's just down to assumptions. Like, you really wouldn't know. Also, some depictions of vampires kind of, like, they're like, how do I say this? Like, the temperature of their bodies, like, they're either warm they're warm-blooded or they're cold-blooded. Bro, there's so much stuff! There's so much stuff you can think about. Like, what if you fell in love, right? You can't cuddle because they're freezing. You can't cuddle them. Hey, come here, you had a long day at work. You know what? Never mind. You're like a freezer. I can't hug you. Bro, there's so much thought. There's so much philosophy that can go into this. Mind you, this is just a random thought, but say, like, you're married, right? And you're about to have or do it with your wife. Would you hurt her? Because you gotta think, if you're a vampire, right, and you're really strong, and then, again, this is just going off of assumptions, but your wife is, like, also, I would assume she's human, or maybe she's a vampire, whatever, but let's just say she was human. If you tried to do it with her, and mind you, this is just all in theory, you're stronger than her, so if you tried, you would most likely hurt her. Like, in Twilight, right, Edward doesn't, like, do it with Bella, or he says he's not going to. Mind you, this is just what I'm thinking, right, because he could hurt her. So that makes you think, how strong is the average vampire? Bro, this is odd. It makes you think. It doesn't really clarify. It says superhuman strength far exceeding that of a normal human. So, like, it doesn't really describe it. It just says that it's like you're stronger than a human. Bro, but like if you had that type of strength, what are you doing, bro? Are you just like punking everybody? You feel what I'm saying? Like, bro, that's so crazy. Like, what would you do if I had super speed? Oh yeah, that's another factor. Sunlight. What? Oh, can sunlight kill you? It's a common depiction throughout like vampiric ideas that sunlight can kill a human, but in Twilight, sunlight didn't kill Edward. It kind of just made him glow. Bro, there's so much to think about. Also, is it sunlight specifically, or is it just normal light? Like, can the sunlight kill you, or is it just the light? Like, if I got a flashlight, right, and a vampire was charging at me, can I just shine it and they just incinerate? I feel like that's not how that would work. Ooh, maybe. I feel like the sun has to be... Ooh, maybe it's just light. It just has to be warm. So, like, fire? I don't know. Also, bro, listen. From Twilight, there's a guy... oh man, I forgot his name. I think his name was like Casper. It probably wasn't Casper. Dang. What was his name? Dang, I can't figure it out. Jasper! Oh my goodness. Okay, Jasper. I mean, come on. I wasn't really that far off. Casper, Jasper. It's literally the same name. Just replace the letters at the first part. You guys get what I'm trying to say. Jasper, right? Jasper, that dude. Bro, the series. Okay, I know this sort of... I gotta get this off my chest. So, in Twilight, right? That dude has like... he has the ability, Jasper, he has the ability to manipulate emotion. So, like, that is, like, the most OP power. I hate that they didn't elaborate on that. Like, they didn't say how powerful he was. They didn't say, they didn't say how cool it was, or kind of, like, they didn't really give any details to that. They just kind of said he could control emotions, which that is a crazy power, because a bunch of humanity's free will, every single one of our actions is based on our emotion. Our free will is literally based on all our emotion. So Jasper, sorry if I call him differently, Jasper could have made moves. He could have controlled people. Well, I feel like, again, it doesn't really add any details to that. It kind of just says he has control over emotions. But, like, come on, that's cool. Is it just one person, or is it like a lot of people? Because if it's one person, yeah, I guess that's still pretty cool. But if it was a bunch of people, yo, that would be sick. We're going down a rabbit hole. That's amazing. Imagine if you could do that. That's so cool. Imagine if you could control people's emotions. Well, I feel like it's like a pretty dark ability, because I feel like if you had the ability to control people's emotions, like it's like it's a very cool superpower. But like, again, God honors free will. Yo, if you had the power to manipulate emotion, would God intervene? Because you got to think, God honors free will, right? So if you control emotion, would God have to step in and be like, stop doing that? Because you're controlling what humanity does. So would God be like, yo, you gotta stop doing that? Enough. Bro, what were we even talking about? We were talking about, can you be a Christian and a vampire? Now we're talking about God intervening with someone who's controlling the emotions of humanity. Yo, you cannot tell me that's cool. You cannot tell me that is cool. The idea of that is so flippin' awesome. Oh, so cool. It's so cool. Yeah, but I kind of just wanted to... I feel like that's about it. I kind of just wanted to get on here. I might start doing this. Kind of just like going off of random topics and just talking about them. Maybe sprinkle a little bit of Christianity in there, as I always do. But, yeah. Dang. Leave your suggestions, what? Leave your comments down below. But, yeah, I kind of just wanted to talk about that. I thought that was a cool, yeah. But, yeah, I feel like that's about it. I thank you, I love you, and God bless. That was a cool idea. That was a really cool idea.